Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Hold on, I gotta get my little microphone. Get myself a stem. Okay. Hold on, now the camera isn't working. The camera was fine. I'm pretty sure an old dog tripped over the cord and unplugged it. Okay, we're just going to put my coffee mug right here. You'll notice the quote on it says, "Get up, the day's half over," which was my dad's favorite quote. So when he died, Eric had this mug made for me. So we're gonna hope that the day restarts at some point. Probably after the service, however. But before the Chiefs play football, I'm hoping. All right, let's all take a deep breath, especially Meg. Meg needs a deep breath. Big cleansing breath. Okay. So our readings today really focus around the calling of the people. And we saw that a little bit last week with Jesus beginning his ministry and starting to call people together. I'm going to get this out of my way because it's very distracting. Not that this isn't. This is really distracting. Okay. But we saw a little bit last week about the calling of see, I can't talk without my hands, you see. I need my hands, and I don't have them. I know. You guys are used to me being all over the place. I'm not. They're right here. So Jesus is calling his disciples. And one of the things that I think is really important here is that when we nowadays as good Christian people think of the calling of people, we think of very special people who are different, who do different things. They live a different kind of way, and they go out and find God, and then they pray for the rest of us so that we don't have to do it, because that takes a lot of time and it seems really uncomfortable sometimes. But the reality is that that's not really what happens here. And that's what I think is so important about this gospel reading, is that we grasp the idea that these are just normal, everyday people. This is very similar to Jesus wandering through Walmart and going up to the cashier and saying, so I'm going to need you to come with me. Okay, we're going to go do something completely different. And the cashier's like, okay. And the cashier goes. And then God goes to the local high school. And he walks into the history teacher's room in the middle of class, in the middle of lecture. And he says, yeah, so I'm going to need you to come with me. We're going to do something different. And so that's what I think is so important here, is that God comes to us in our context, in our place, in our very way of doing things, in our being, where we're living, where we're doing, where we're kind of doing stuff, and shows up there. And in fact, what I really, really like here is that God uses these people's language. He uses metaphors that they understand. He says, you've been fishing for fish. Let's go fish for people. And that's an image that speaks to them because that's what they do. So that's what I think is so important for us to grasp, is that Jesus is here now with us in the very same ways that we are. Not different and separate and other. Not this idea that we must go to these fancy cathedrals, or we must be completely different. We must wear a certain kind of clothing, or we must live a certain kind of life. We must do a certain kind of work. But that in our very place, in our very way of being, in the very language that we use, Jesus comes and calls us. And that's super important. So wherever you are and however you're living and whatever you're doing, Jesus comes and shows up and speaks. And we also want to think that these people are going to be really, really different. They're going to be special, right? That they've been living better and they're special and they're different from the rest of us. But no, because we're all called. We're all called in different ways. We're all called in our place. So if you're working at Walmart, you are called in that place to do ministry. Whatever that looks like there, and that's going to be different than how the high school teacher is going to do ministry, or how I do ministry during the week as a school counselor of little kids is very, very different than how I do ministry when I'm talking with y'all. It's very different. It's still ministry. Am I using the same language in elementary school that I'm using with you guys during a sermon? Absolutely not. And am I using the same language in a sermon that I'm using when I'm speaking directly one-on-one in a pastoral session? Absolutely not. And am I doing ministry when I'm out grocery shopping? Yeah, in some ways I am. So the reality is that in every place, in every way, we are called to do ministry. There's not a separate other different. There's not a sense that church is a special different place, or that God goes to a separate different place, or that we go to God. But we have this understanding that in a whole new way, Jesus comes to us where we are. And that's really important for me today, because guess what? I know theologically, I know in my heart of hearts that even though everything is going wrong this morning, everything, and I'm not even exaggerating, like literally everything is going wrong this morning, except my espresso machine. My espresso machine has held up pretty well, which is a really good thing for all of us. But I still know that in my context, where I am, how I am right now, in my really messy ugliness, and my lots of different cuss words this morning, and my moments of being really tempted to yell at my kids and bribe my dogs, every dog right now has a different treat in my efforts to bribe them to behave. I know that here Jesus comes. I know that here Jesus says, drop your nets, drop all the junk that you're carrying, the stuff that doesn't really matter. You think it does. You've created all these things, but that's not the real stuff, because I'm going to call you to the real stuff. So, ignore all of our technical difficulty. I'm trying to. IT is having a really hard time today. We're just going to stuff them full of Oreos and put them in front of a football game as soon as this is over. Because, good news, kickoff start at like 10. So as soon as we're done here, he's watching football. So here's the thing. Wherever you are, however you are, God will show up and God will call you. And when God does, I hope you cast down your nets. I hope you leave whatever that junk is that you've been carrying around and you go, because we are called to go. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.